What's going on, fight fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the main event right here on FranchiseSportsMedia.com. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Kalani with my co-host, Griff and Kim. Griff, my man. And we are in for a very special weekend right now. Holidays are gone. Labor Day's over with. School's back in. School is in session with this one. UFC 279, Khamzat Chimaev taking on Stockton's own bad boy, Nate Diaz.
Ooh, it's going to be a good one, buddy. We've been waiting for a minute for this one.
Very much so. Very much so. These two right here were offered to fight each other previously. Nate felt like, hey, look, Khamzat is still the new guy on the scene. He's not necessarily ranked, hasn't beat anybody of worth yet. He's been impressive. Speaking of impressive, this guy had what 2, 3, maybe 18 wins in like a 2-week span. I mean, this guy literally was fighting 6 people a day here, Griff, and saying, give them all to me. I kill everybody. I smash everybody. Now he's gone out. He's defeated Gilbert Burns, a former title contender. He's now got the name recognition, the hype behind him. Nate Diaz on his last fight in the UFC, Dana White and them are just saying, hey, here you go, Nate. You wanted him. You got him. Khamzat, you want to move up? Take on one of the biggest names in the sports right now. What do you think of this matchup, and how do you see it going down Saturday right here in Las Vegas?
I think this fight is interesting. You hear a lot of rumors about why this got set up. You see Nate Diaz saying, oh, go beat Gilbert Burns, then I'll fight you. Then he'll be worthy of fighting me. You have people saying, oh, look at Dana White doing Nate Diaz so dirty by beating him to the Lions. But what I love most about this fight is the fact that you have Nate Diaz, who he's facing down the barrel of Khamzat Chimaev. He's facing Dana White wanting him to, you don't want to re-sign with us. We're going to kick your ass out to the curb. We're going to do you real dirty with your last fight. You have all this going against Nate, but you just know the boy from Stockton don't give a damn. He don't give a damn. He's gonna show up. He's gonna smoke his weed at the press conference. He's gonna go in there and he's gonna fight his ass off because that's just who he is. And that's what I think a lot of people, we're all gonna miss that about the most about Nate Diaz. His UFC career, it's most likely over after this fight. I don't know if there is another contract in the future, maybe, but if it is his last fight, everyone better tune in and recognize how special it is, the guy we're seeing, the performance we're going to see, and just what Nate Diaz's career has been from the Ultimate Fighter all the way through these last years in the UFC. It's going to be special.
Well, he's better realize how special it is. He's got a big opportunity here against one of the biggest names that he's fought. He had 25 minutes against Leon Edwards. 24 of those, he didn't show up. He had a big Madison Square Garden, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson present, a brand new made-up fictional belt on the line against Jorge Masvidal. He didn't show up. Oh, I get started late. Nate Diaz, we know, is a big name. He's been in there against some of the best. He will not back down, but he's got to be able to come forward and say, listen, I am taking on one of the most ruthless fighters I've ever faced whatsoever. This is not a guy I could just stand on the outside, try to pick apart and find my shots. He's going to come forward. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to attack. He's going to smash. Nate Diaz has to come through. Smoke the weed is fine. Trust me. I know. But at the same time, Nate has to be willing to say, I cannot be lazy. I cannot sit back and wait. Maybe Nate has to be the one to be aggressive, wearing him down. Now, we know Nate's great on the ground. So if he is grabbed and he is taken down, that's going to be an interesting matchup. But Nate doesn't want to give this dude any type of momentum going forward. If I'm Nate Diaz, I might try to switch it up and press forward against Khamzat to see how he does fighting backwards.
The thing is, do you see Nate Diaz, though, switching up his game plan, even though it might be the smart move? The man does what he does, and that is his conditioning is always going to be top notch.
Of course,
he's going to probably get his ass beat in the first 3 rounds. He's going to get bloodied up. He's going to get cut up, and then in the 4th and 5th round, he's going to turn it up and he's going to start going. That might not be the smart move for this fight, but the thing is with Nate Diaz, it's his last fight, and it didn't really seem like he gave a damn who was in there with him. He just wanted to get out of his contract as soon as possible. He's going to fight the way he's going to fight. He's going to do it. And the thing is, he's not going to fight the way he's going to fight because he thinks, oh, I don't give a damn. I don't care if I lose. No, he wants to win. He loves this fighting shit. He wants to do the best he can. But in his mind, Nate Diaz comes off to me like that. He thinks that is the best way. And I don't see him changing it.
Okay, and that's fine if you don't want to change it. But I tell you what, if you think lasting to the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and then turn it on against Khamzat Chimaev, this dude almost literally killed 17 babies, 2 tanks, 4 werewolves, and a gorilla the last time he was in the cage.
Keep in mind, in the UFC, He's only had 3 rounds. I don't think he's fought in a 5-round fight before. So
this is true. This is true.
If he can't get Nate out of the way in 3 rounds, if Nate's able to survive, what happens if maybe Khamzat gets a little gassed?
We thought the same thing when he fought Gilbert Burns. What happens if it goes past a minute? What happens if it goes past 2 minutes? What happens if it goes past the first rounds? He has some cardio issues in that war, but he also showed that for those 15 minutes, I can go. I can still go out there, dig deep, and find the intestinal fortitude needed to go out there and still be a top contender, still be one of the top fighters, show that I'm not just a hype tramp. I'm not just a front runner. I am someone that when I step out here and I'm standing toe-to-toe with my opponent, win, lose, or draw, not win, lose, or draw, standing against the cage, grappling, or on the mat, I am one of the best in the world. I'm only getting better. Because I'm hungry. I'm hungry, Griff. I'm hungry. But against Nate Diaz, who is, again, one of the best out there, his traditional game plan, his typical way of going about fights, I just don't see that being a way of victory for him. If it goes to the mat, sure, I can see it being a little bit better because he is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in all of mixed martial arts. But if he tries to wait and allow Khamzat to get his range, to find his space and to get his timing down and think I'm just going to counter with the Stockton slap, a not so energized leg kick, and an overhand right hoping that I catch on him, again, unless he does what he does against your boy Conor McGregor and really lands one flush, I don't know if Nate's going to be able to pull off a victory. Again, this is not me saying Nate's going to lose. I'm saying the way he has traditionally fought may not be the smartest way to attack Khamzat Chimaev.
I would think that, and I never even realized it while in this time where we've been talking about it in the build-up, his conditioning actually might be a great asset against Khamzat Chimaev. Like
it
you
always
said,
is.
Hasn't fought in a 5-round fight yet, in the UFC at least. Nate is notorious for getting cut up and getting his ass handed to him in the first 3 rounds and then going off. That could be what really gives him an edge to really be more competitive in this fight than a lot of people give him credit for. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That Khamzat Chimaev fight against Gilbert Burns, the striking was great. The striking was violent, but it was not pristine. Khamzat, it kind of got exposed that Khamzat, he can stand and he can strike, but he's not one of these world-renowned strikers. He's not an Izzy Adesanya or Conor McGregor. He needs to work on that. That's something he needs to work on a little bit. He's more of a ground game. He wants to wrestle. So I think it'd be interesting to see those two stand up. See, they're going to wrestle. It's going to go to the ground, but it'd be interesting to see them stand up. And oh my God, I cannot wait to see Nate Diaz try to give the Stockton slap to Khamzat. That is going to be, I'm excited.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just some quick stats here for both of these fighters to give perspective on them. Nate Diaz, before every fight, he rides his bicycle for 3 straight days. Doesn't even stop whatsoever. He swims from the Atlantic to the Pacific through North America. He does that. He also runs 17 miles a month ahead of time. That's what he does. I'm just reading the numbers here. Khamzat Chimaev practices hitting tanks on the side the week of the fight. He also needs pillars that hold up buildings that people work in. He does it so much they don't even know if it's an earthquake, a bomb going off, or if that's just Khamzat down there dropping it like it's hot.
Sounds like he's training like an Avenger out here.
He really does. He really does. In fact, he's got Mjolnir, which he calls his left hand.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then he's got the Infinity Gauntlet, which he calls his right hand. He just swirls those things around just for fun. So we are getting 2 of the best, absolute, scariest fighters that you can think of put here in the cage. It's been a tremendous build-up to see these 2 in the press conferences, in the interviews, in the countdowns, in the embeddeds, just to see the different personalities, but the same mindset. And as we both kind of talked about here in different fashions, no matter what, when we step in this cage, we're not backing down. We're not afraid of whoever's standing across from me. Yeah, there's a business side to the world of fighting that we have to get the numbers right, dot the I's and cross the T's. But once the door is locked, the lights are on, Bruce Buffer says our name, and it's us and the referee in that cage. I don't care who you are. I'm going to fight you. You're going to fight me, and we're going to go to war. And we're going to see who's the last man standing. Often more than not, both of these guys have been the last man standing in their own wars. Who will it be when these 2 lock horns? It is going to be a phenomenal showing. Nate Diaz, Khamzat Chimaev, UFC 279. Cannot wait. Co-main event very quickly. We got the boogeyman, El Cucuy. Tony Ferguson returning to welterweight to take on one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. Griff, he's taking on
You're gonna have to say the name, brother. I know
Oh,
the name.
Ling Jangalang. Okay, I sincerely apologize. I've been practicing this all day. Ling Jaling?
Ling Jaling.
Ling Jaling.
Okay.
He is one. Look, I'm mispronouncing his name. You got to forgive me. I went to public school in the inner city. I didn't pay attention that much, so please forgive me. But he is one of the most exciting fighters in all of the UFC. When he steps in the cage, he is dynamite. He is fireworks. He's taking on Tony Ferguson, who we know is always fun to watch. I mean, Tony Ferguson literally does 17 cartwheels, 44 jumping jacks, 700 push-ups, 12 burpees, all on roller skates, blindfolded, while listening to Madonna just coming to the ring.
No, some real facts. This man, Tony Ferguson, goes out here and he kicks poles to get them shins nice and ready for the face of whoever's standing across from him.
Very much so.
This man is so freaking exciting, man.
Yes, he is.
Not only when he wins, but when he loses. What happened in the fight with him and Michael Chandler? Like, he didn't look bad before the head kick. He didn't look bad.
Yeah.
It was looking pretty nice. But then he gets put out in phenomenal fashion.
One of the scariest things we've ever seen a fighter go through with the knockout. Not just the effects of it, but the fact that afterwards he was laying down for probably 5-7 minutes.
It was
Still,
scary. It was scary as hell.
Very much so.
Everybody was worried about El Kukui, but that's the thing. The second he wakes up, the second that the doctors get him conscious, he's going right back to social media saying, "I'm not done. I'm still here. I'm still going to do my thing. Here's a bunch of weird things on social media with all the emojis. You've seen it. It's ridiculous, but he does it. And that's why we all love El Kukui. I'm still happy to see him fighting. Despite his losing streak, I would be so disappointed if he was no longer part of the UFC.
I feel like Tony Ferguson gets hyped up for a fight in a dark room looking at a dark wall.
Please explain that. Please explain. Defend yourself.
Sits in a room. The walls are painted black. You close the door. You shut off all the lights. He sits there, and that's how he gets hyped up. Tony Ferguson is a different animal right here.
Yes.
He has very different methods, like we talked about, kicking poles, roller skates, blindfold. He has different methods in how he gets ready. He's one of those guys that you just say, if you looked at from afar, that dude's out of his mind.
Yes.
What is he thinking about? What is he doing? You see him in the cage. Oh, that's why he does that. Because then no one can prepare for it. How do you prepare for somebody like Tony Ferguson? Outside of landing a flush shot like Michael Chandler did with the kick, or just being like Charles Oliveira, who's just on a different level. Outside of that, how do you prepare for this guy? He's one of those guys, cardio-wise, like we talked about Nate Diaz, can stay in and bang with you, can go attacking or on the counter, or can go grappling with you on the ground due to his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu from 10th Planet. He's one of those guys, there's no weaknesses.
And if you got top mount on him and you think you have the advantage, you're wrong. No. Those elbows are coming for you. No. They are gonna touch you. They're gonna slice you.
Oh, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. So we have that match going on. We have Kevin Holland on there, big mouth.
Oh boy.
We got Johnny Walker returning to the cage as well. This is a very nice card with some very nice matchups, some very big names on here to watch out for. And Griff, speaking of big names, we saw some big, pun intended, guys this past weekend.
Yes.
At UFC Paris.
Some Frenchies, a little French stuff, brother.
French all the croissant. Oh, oui, oui, la poupou. We saw Tuita Avasa taking on Cyril Gane in the main event of UFC's first time in France in UFC Paris.
Beautiful.
Griff. A war.
That's a nice way to put it.
An all-out war. Gane gets the KO victory over Tui, but man, oh man, please don't look at that as a loss for Tui. This was an absolute barn burner. One of those matches you say, the fans won.
Yes.
There was a loser. The biggest winner was the fans. What were your thoughts of that matchup?
Tai Tuivasa is legit. He's legit. He's not like Derek Lewis. No shame on Derek Lewis. All respect in the world to the beast. But when it comes to these big matchups, in big moments, when you're fighting an opponent in his home country, he still showed up. He put Gane on his ass. I think better than he looked better against Gane than Francis did, even though Francis eventually did beat him. The way he put Gane down on the ground, and Gane, do not get this mistaken, he will go down as one of the greatest strikers in the heavyweight division. He put him on his ass. I
think Francis did that several times.
I don't know.
It was via wrestling.
Yeah,
it was via wrestling, but still,
I'm saying
the guy who won does not look worse than the guy who lost.
But I'm saying on the feet though, Tai Tuivasa going against Cyril Gane, the way he stood on the feet and striked with them, the way that Ciryl Gane got him with that head kick, and everyone's saying that he faked being hurt. He faked being hurt so that Gane would come in, and then he swung up with that hook. I wouldn't be surprised if that was true. But the thing is, Tai Tuivasa looked phenomenal against Ciryl Gane, who is still a big contender in the heavyweight division. He's not going anywhere. His
not at all.
Francis, no, he's still here and he's still ready. In fact, I think there's an interesting matchup besides Francis, next for Gane. But we'll touch on that in a second. But I just think Tai Tuivasa looked great. Ciryl Gane still showed that he is a number one contender. He's a great contender in the heavyweight division. Phenomenal fight with the big boys.
I mean, when the heavyweights get to rocking and rolling, it is fun to see. This is why the people love it and everything. They can win at it. Ciryl Gane did his thing. Tui definitely cemented himself as still one of the best contenders in the heavyweight division. Mm-hmm. If we would have stayed in the heavyweight division, but switch it from the cage to the square circle, this past weekend, we also saw former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz defeat former heavyweight title challenger Luis Ortiz. Andy Ruiz may look like myself, and he may look like a guy who's ordering a large pizza and eating it by himself, but make no mistake about it, cardio, a chin, fast hands,
yes sir,
knockout power, heart of a champion. Andy Ruiz is a guy, if he comes in focused and he trained hard, it's very difficult to see many guys defeating him at the next level as far as competition. He defeats Luis Ortiz in the manner in which he did with 3+ knockdowns. This is where you say, okay, Andy Ruiz, is it time for you to take on a Deontay Wilder? Is it time for you to take on Anthony Joshua? No, I don't want to see a third fight. But is it time for you to take on Dylan White? Is it time for you to take on a certain big, tall Brit? A Gypsy King, if he wants to come out of retirement. I don't know if that's next in line. Maybe Deontay Wilder. But Andy Ruiz doing what he did, phenomenal. We would have said in the world of boxing, as we wrap up the show here on the main event on Franchise Sports Media, there was an announcement of a particular boxing matchup announced.
Yes.
Just a few short hours ago.
Yes.
Halloween. If this was pro wrestling, it'd be Halloween Havoc. We are going to see former UFC middleweight great, one of the all-time greatest fighters of all time, Anderson the Spider Silva, taking on YouTube sensation and now boxing sensation Jake Paul. Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva, October 29th. It is going down. Jake Paul 5-0, Anderson Silva 3-1. These two are going to collide. Jake Paul finally fighting somebody who's a legit size for him. No lightweights. No welterweights. He's taking on a guy who's fought at middleweight and fought at light heavyweight. What are your initial thoughts of Paul versus Silva?
My initial thoughts are, this is the best fighter Jake Paul is going to fight so far in his career. This is the best fighter he is being contracted to fight. Tyron Woodley was not a horrible striker, but he was a wrestler. Ben Askren did not belong in there. Nate Robinson was in the NBA. That's what I can say about that guy. Yeah. This is Anderson the Spider Silva. This man is born striking. This man came out the womb throwing head kicks.
It's normal.
He is coming out, and he is going to be the hardest challenge for Jake Paul. And as we all know, the Jake Paul train, this train with his boxing career, it gets derailed with a loss. It absolutely does, until he finds, and if he's really trying to get into that echelon of legit, respected boxers, this is still not a professional boxer.
Yeah.
Technically he is, but he's more, he's a UFC great. It's another bringing a guy out who's retired from the UFC and bringing him into the boxing ring. So I would say this is going to be the best challenge for Jake Paul. He gets past this, then we'll see where we go from there. But I like this more than Tyson Fury's brother or Rahman. This is much better.
When you're 5-0 in fighting, we're not supposed to really know who your opponents are. You look at Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones, Mike Tyson, whoever. You're not going to find many big names on there that you recognize on a fighter's resume when they're 4, 5, 6-0. But you are right. If I have the name power and I'm taking on someone of this ilk in Anderson Silva, if I could get past him, or at least I would say this, if he loses but looks competitive, if he loses via decision, but he gave a tough outing, and this was one of those brawls like we talked about with Ciryl Gane and Tui, then I won't see it losing so much momentum. But we will dive more into this particular matchup as we go forward. But UFC 279, Khamzat, Nate Diaz. Woo! it is going to make your head blow off. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of The Main Event. This is Griff and Camp. I'm Kalani Lua. Be sure to go to Franchise Sports Media for all your combat sports and even more sports right here. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, fight fans. Peace.